Okay. Thank you, sir. Sheriff, if you're there, would you like to call the meeting order, please?
We already have.
We're ready for the invocation, Chairman Rogers.
Okay, thank you. Invocation of District 1. Can you hear me? Can you hear me? All I hear is garble. I'm coming in.
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, let us pray. Dear Lord, we thank you for this day. We thank you for the opportunity to serve. We thank you that we live in a country where we can still serve peacefully. Lord, we thank you that, for our health, and we thank you that we live in the great country that we do. And we pray that you be with us as we conduct this meeting, and pray that we would make good decisions that are honoring to our constituents and to you. In Jesus' name, amen. Okay, thank you, sir. Pledge to the flag of the United States of America, District 1. Okay. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, Commissioner Williams. Mr. Clerk, would you please call the roll?
All right, ladies and gentlemen, you will take your, this is going to be a little bit different tonight, but it's going to be somewhat the same. Take your handsets. Wait, time out. A little bit different for me up here tonight. Do roll call. Hang on. Here we go. All right, can everybody see okay up on the board? So far? Well, I mean, the folks at home can't. All right, ladies and gentlemen, if you take your handsets and press yes and stop right there, please. Press yes and stop right there. All right, before we continue, there are 5 commissioners who are with us by Zoom. You've already heard them tonight. I'm going to confirm them. I have confirmed them their presence by the handset, but I'm going to confirm them by voice. Commissioner Williams, are you present?
Yes, I am.
Commissioner Rogers, are you present?
Yes.
Commissioner Holmes, are you present?
Yeah.
Commissioner DiAudio, are you present?
Yes.
Commissioner Christopher, are you present?
Yes.
All right, I have taken your handsets and pressed, and the folks are behind me, so they see that. I mark you all as present. We're going to tally that. We're ready to go to. You have to bear with me tonight. This is a little bit on the different. Mr. Chairman, you have all 24 present. There is a quorum. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Clerk. Before we move on, I need to read the executive order number 60 that allows us to meet electronically as well in person. Meetings on or before September 30th, 2020. The following provisions shall apply to meetings and governing bodies conducted on or before September 30th, 2020, which are the same provisions contained in Executive Order number 16 as extended by Executive Orders number 34 and 51. As a reasonable measure to protect the safety and welfare of Tennesseans while ensuring that government business may continue in a manner that is open and accessible to the public, the provisions of Tennessee Code Annotated, Title 8, Chapter 44, Part 1 are hereby suspended to the extent necessary to allow governing body, as defined in Tennessee Code Annotated, Section 8-44-102, to meet and conduct its essential business by electronic means rather than being required to gather a quorum of members physically present at the same location. If the governing body determines that meeting electronically is necessary to protect the health, safety, and welfare of Tennesseans in light of the COVID-19 outbreak and subject to following conditions, all governing bodies conducted by electronic means under this order shall remain open and accessible to public attendance by electronic means as follows. Each governing body must make the reasonable efforts to ensure that the public access to the meeting via electronic means is live access, but if the governing body cannot provide such live access, public access, despite reasonable efforts, the governing body must make a clear audio or video recording of the meeting available to the public as soon as practicable following the meeting, and no event more than 2 business days after the meeting. Okay, thank you for your patience. Now we're moving on to item number 5, approval of the agenda.
Motion to approve, Donadio.
Second.
All right, thank you. I've got a motion and a second. Any discussion or changes to the agenda? All in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? All right, we have an approved agenda. Item number 6, approval of the minutes of previous meeting.
Motion to approve, Adam.
Second, Donadio.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion on the minutes? All in favor say aye.
Aye. Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, the minutes have been approved. Before we move on to the next one, I want to thank everybody for your patience and your encouragement over the last 2 years with me as chairman. It's been an honor to serve you. You are a wonderful commission. I thank you for your service. I thank you for your time. And I thank you for your respect and the way you treated me. It's been an honor. Item number 7, we'll move on to the election of chairman of the county commission as recommended by the nominating committee.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, the nominating committee nominates Mike Atwood. Not so.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Are there any other nominations? Do I have a motion to elect by acclamation?
Motion. Jim Martin. Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, Chairman Atwood, it is all yours, my friend.
Thank you. As I move toward the front so that I can be seen better, I'd ask the commission to show their thanks to Commissioner Rogers. It's been a terribly tough year, and he's doing a remarkable job.
Yeah.
So I give him my commendations, and I'd ask us that maybe we give him a hand and thank him for what he did.
Thank you all for that. I appreciate it.
Congratulations.
Yeah.
Let me ask the clerk, the electronics will work so when people want to speak, I'll be able to see that.
They should. We should be just like we're sitting right there. So, guys, if you do need, be sure and press your request to speak, and it should show up, Mr. Chairman.
Absolutely. Let me say, first of all, thank you for your confidence. Those of you who are in the first term, I'll be new for you. The rest of you have served with me at a previous time when I served as chair. I promise you 2 things. First of all, the chair is to be impartial, neutral. I'll do my best to do that. If I can't, it's time for me to step down to somebody else to take the chair, the vice chair, when I need an opinion. That I promise you. And the second is open door, open telephone. I'd love to hear from you if you have issues that we need to consider as far as the commission. So I appreciate the opportunity, the chance, and look forward to serving you another year. All right, having said that, we're going to open the floor for nominations for Vice Pro Tem, Chair Pro Tem.
Mr. Chairman.
Second. Jim. I've got a motion and a second for Jim Martin. Are there any other nominations? Entertain a motion to elect by acclamation.
Motion to elect.
Motion to elect by acclamation, Donadio.
Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, no. Motion carries. Got a nomination,
Thank you.
open the chair, the nominations for parliamentarian.
Mr. Chairman,
Nominate Gordon Watts.
I've got a nomination from nominating of Ben Rogers, and Mr. Ford has made a nomination of Jordan. Do I have a second on either or both?
I second both of them, Donadio.
Again, Mr. Nadia, you seconded what?
Both of them.
Okay, so we do have a motion and a second. Any other nominations? Feel like we're probably going to have to take a voice vote here. It will take 13 votes from the commission to elect that person. So, Mr. Clark, we'll start however you want to start. You're in charge.
All right. As I call your name, give me just a half a second. Here. Fix my tally sheet here. All right, I gotta make this go, sorry. As I call your name, would you please give me your selection, either Jordan Iwanizon or Ben Rogers? Are you ready? Here we go. Mr. Williams,
Ben Rogers.
Mr. Christopher,
Rogers.
Mr. Sandlin,
Rogers.
Mr. Martin,
Roger.
Jordan Iwanizon,
Iwanizon.
Jerry Ford,
Jordan.
Ms. Tays, Mr. Robertson,
I want
Ms. Adams,
Roger.
Mr. Randolph,
Rogers.
Mr. Cassidy,
Rogers.
Mr. Johnson,
Rod.
Mr. Donadio,
Iwanizon.
Mr. Bennett,
Iwanizon.
Mr. Holmes,
Rogers.
Mr. Rogers,
Pass.
Passed.
I got it. Okay. Hang on. Mr. Neal,
Rogers.
Mr. Moss,
Rogers.
Mr. Joe Iwanizon,
Iwanizon.
Ms. Bradford,
Roger.
Mr. Wilson,
Rogers.
Ms. Dunn,
Roger.
Ms. Rio,
Roger.
Mr. Atwood.
Pass.
Anyone wish to change their vote anywhere? Anywhere? Mr. Chairman, we have, if my calculation is correct, Mr. Iwanizon has 7. Mr. Rogers gets 15 with 2 abstain or pass. Mr. Rogers is elected.
Congratulations, Mr. Rogers.
Thank you, sir.
Bear with me here.
Me too.
Get the right agenda. All right, item number 10, are you ready, Wayne? Or you want me to tell
No,
you? I'll
no,
wait for
give
you.
me just one quick second.
Sure,
You
take
would
your time.
please.
You're quite welcome. Item number 10 is to unfinished business and action, report of standing committees planning. Ms. Dunn.
No unfinished business.
Fiscal review
No unfinished business.
and nominating.
No unfinished business.
Thank you, Chairman, Chairwomen, both. Report of special committees. Any special committees tonight? Any other unfinished business? All right, moving on to new business. Report of standing committees, planning. Commissioner Dunn.
All right. Planning Committee, under item A, discuss purchase of the sale of the old fairground property as recommended by the Planning Committee.
This is discussion. If there are motions to come, then we'll consider those motions, but as placed on the agenda, it is a discussion, and so I'll open that floor for that. Please, you can try your button. All right, Commissioner Watt.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Mayor Porter, did you say that we need to make a motion regarding the bus garage and also the highway department building as well? There needs to be a motion made if we're going to proceed with that at all to investigate further on the values of that property.
Yes, Commissioner, what I would do is let me get the appraisals updated and we put it on the agenda for next month, and then y'all can make a decision at that time if that'd be okay.
Yeah, sounds good. Thank you so much.
All right. Do I hear any other discussion? All right. Moving along. Item B, recommends approval of the list of vehicles to be sold via internet public auction for the Sheriff's Department as follows. You can see that we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Yeah,
Yeah, several vehicles listed there.
please don't read all this.
I'm not going to. I'm not going to.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
And I assume you so move, Commissioner?
Yes, and I'll so
Madam
move.
Chair. Is there-
Second, Donadio.
All right, we have a motion and a second on the vehicles. Any discussion? In favor of that motion, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, no. Motion carries.
All right. Item C, recommends approval for the Sheriff's Department to transfer a 2007 F-150 Bobcat to the Maintenance Department, and I so move.
Commissioner, I want to
Second, Donadio.
We have a motion and a second again. Is there discussion? In favor of that motion, say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Motion carries.
Item D, recommends approval of the request from Speedway LLC for easement at the entrance of the fairgrounds on South Jefferson Avenue. And
Did you move?
that has been moved to next month.
Okay.
What action do we need to take?
What did you take in committee? I'm sorry, I wasn't.
Oh, to defer it to next month since there's no representative here from Speedway this month.
Okay, so we have a recommendation from planning to defer it till next month. Is there a second on that?
Second.
And is there any discussion on that motion? Yes, sir.
I've got a question. Mayor Porter, can you just kind of tell us what they're looking for in an easement?
Something similar to what Taco Bell has. The commission approved that back in the 90s when Taco Bell was built, where they've got a little cut across to be able to hit the side street, the entrance to the fairgrounds, which is actually not a city street or a county road. It's actually a private drive. They're looking at building a speedway there where the shopping center currently is, and they'd like an easement onto the private drive to be able to allow traffic to come out onto that road also.
So you say it's a private drive, it's private because the county owns it?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Any
Commissioner-
other questions?
Commissioner Williams has a question.
Please, you're recognized, Mr. Williams.
Thank you. Are they asking the county to give them an easement, or are they offering to purchase an easement?
I think according to the county attorney, we cannot give it. It would have to be sold for some value.
Okay, that's my only question.
Great questions. Any other question on this?
We've got people wanting to speak, Jordan and Joel Wanison.
Okay.
Jordan, you spoke already, right?
Yeah, no, that's not been cleared from when I addressed the fairgrounds issue there.
Okay, so Commissioner Joe Wasden?
Mayor Porter, will this create any complications for the future when we want to sell that property?
It could, and I guess I'd ask until the Speedway folks have a chance to come and show you their proposal and what they want to do is maybe we wait and hold the discussion until then. Jeff has been looking into it, has deep dived into it, so he'll be able to give you all that information when we bring it up next month. That's okay.
Yes, sir.
Commissioner Martin?
Just a point on that too. If we agree to an easement, it would be for the sole purpose of that company only. If they move, that easement returns back, it is null and void. Is that correct?
on how it's written, right, Bill?
Well, I certainly recommend that, because we don't want it, if we do it for this company, it should be exclusive for that company. And if they move or sell, the owner sells, then we should get that back.
Made a presentation, and they might be able to answer some of the questions that you're asking tonight.
Well, I bring it up, so when it's discussed, we get the answer. It's presented to us at that time.
Yeah, we'll bring you the proposal, and then you can make that decision, and that can be a part of the motion if you want to.
Yes.
Yes.
Commissioner Wilson?
Mr. Wilson is
Yeah, I
next.
just want to make sure that, as Jim brought up, but if this is purchased, we need to make sure inside the contract that we're protected as a return back.
Our county attorney always
I
makes
know he's
sure
going to do
we're
that, I just want to make sure that's
Yeah.
noted.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, our motion is to defer till next month. Any other discussion?
I had a point on that as well, too. I think Commissioner Wilson kind of covered that a little bit, but going back to Commissioner Martin's question, if we sell the fairgrounds as we're planning to do eventually, we probably don't want that easement to come back to the county, because that road will be owned by whoever buys out the fairgrounds property there. So that was, I guess, Commissioner Wilson kind of covered that a little bit. That's kind of what I was going to address there.
Well, from what I understand, they will hopefully be here next month, and those questions can be answered. Certainly, devil's in the detail, and we certainly want to cross the Ts and dot the Is, so I'm sure Mayor Porter will do that. So, any other discussion about the deferment? Favor of that motion, say aye. Aye. Those opposed, no. Motion carries. Thank you.
That concludes planning.
Thank you, Commissioner Dunn. Did a great job on your first day.
Well, thank you.
Thank you. Fiscal review.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Item A, Fiscal Review Committee recommends approval of budget amendments to the county general fund, and I so move.
Second.
A motion and a second on the general fund. Any discussion? Seeing none in favor of the motion, say aye.
Whoops.
Aye.
Have to vote on fiscal review.
Yes, we do have to have a roll call. I apologize. Thank you.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, hang on. After having not operated this stuff for about, wait. All right, if you favor the motion tonight, vote yes, take your handsets. If you do not favor the motion, vote no. Everyone, please vote. Stop right there.
For us on Zoom, should we just type it in?
No, sir.
Stand by. We'll give.
Now, we're in an odd situation, so the five of you who are by Zoom, I'm going to, because I've already discussed this with Mr. Jones, I'm going to call your name, and you give me your vote by vocal, and I will plug you in here, okay? Mr. Holmes?
Yes.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Williams?
Yes.
Mr. Donadio?
Yes.
Mr. Christopher? Mr. Christopher, how do you vote?
Yes.
Thank you, sir. And Mr. Roberts?
Yes.
Thank you, sir. All right, all votes are in. Does anyone wish to change their vote anywhere? All right. Mr. Chairman, you have all 24 voting yes, 0 no, 0 absent. Motion carries. Hang on.
You bet. While you're doing that, let me just say to each of you, thank you so much for being here and for wearing your mask. We appreciate that. It feels good to be back together and face each other. We can always see a little better how someone's feeling by seeing them face to face and eye to eye. So I'm proud to be back together. I'm sure you are too. So Mr. Porter and Parks and Rec and IT people, everybody that made this possible, I want to say thanks right now. Whenever you're ready, Mr.
Item B.
Wait.
Just a second.
I'm so sorry.
Thought you
We
said
have a
you were
real
ready.
technical difficulty. Give me just a second. Our printer didn't print, so we're wondering what's going on here. Ladies and gentlemen, if you'll bear with us, we appreciate it. Let's vote item A again, please, Mr. Cassidy. We're going to try this one more time, having just a little bit of difficulty.
Absolutely.
Give me a little more shot up here. All right, so ladies and gentlemen, if you'll take your handsets, please, and vote for it one more time, please.
So again, we're voting for item A.
Item A,
On the
yes.
county general fund.
Please, thank you. All right, and all votes are in, no one changed their mind? We're going to hit tally. Bingo. Thank you. Good job. All right.
Work that time.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We got it done now. We appreciate that. Hang on, let me go to
Item D, the Fiscal Review Committee recommends approval of budget amendments to the county, to the General Purpose School Fund, and I so move.
Second, Commissioner Iwanez.
All right, got a motion and a second. Any discussion on the general purpose school fund? All right, Mr. Clerk.
All right, seeing none, if you take your handsets, if you favor the motion, vote yes. If you're not in favor of the motion, vote no. Everyone, please vote. And it'll stop you right there. All in? Again, let me call the other five. Mr. Holmes?
Yes.
Mr. Williams?
Yes.
Mr. Donadio?
Yes.
Mr. Christopher?
Yes.
Mr. Rogers?
Yes.
All right. Anyone wish to change their vote anywhere? All right. Thank you. Yay. That's what we like to hear right there. I don't want to steal anybody's thunder tonight, and if I'm doing it a little bit earlier, I just am. But I want to say a great big thank you to these IT boys here tonight. So I may have got ahead of you. I don't know if I did. Sorry, you can throw some more fun thunder on there. But to all these boys in the IT department, they've hit a home run putting all this together. And it sure is pretty cool having two of them behind me to help me. So thanks, guys. All right. Chairman Caston.
Item C, Fiscal Review Committee recommends approval of a resolution updating the Putnam County Waste Tire Program, and I so move.
Second.
A motion and a second. Remember the new resolution, you should have it. Is there any discussion on that motion? Yes, sir, Mr. Bennett.
Is there a fee change in this resolution?
Yes.
And what was the old fee compared to the new fee?
This fee is going to be a very small, we worked 7 or 8 people now trying to clean up illegal tires and finally got that solved.
Get a little closer to the mic, if you will, Keith.
I just want to do this.
Get him a Coca-Cola.
Too much at one time. Liberty Tire is agreed, their fee, they're supposed to be $92.61 for all the, licensed tire dealers. Now, this doesn't count any new tire dealers or anything of that nature. They've agreed to drop their, disposal fee from $92.61 to $65. What we're asking to do on our entry, all citizens of Putnam County, each household gets 8 tires, supposed to free one time a year. Anything over that is $1 a tire. What we're asking is to raise this 29 cents per tire is all we're asking for. So it's a very nominal fee. That'll save us about $60,000 in tire disposal fees.
Okay, thank you.
Great question. Anybody else? Mr. Clerk?
All right. You favor the motion, vote yes. If you're not in favor of the motion, vote no. Let me get it right here. Take your handsets. If you'll press that for me and stop right there, it'll stop it, of course. I'm so used to saying that. All right. Mr. Holmes?
Yes.
Mr. Williams?
Yes.
Mr. Donadio?
Yes.
Mr. Christopher?
Yes.
And Mr. Rod?
Yes.
And Mr. Atwood?
I'm sorry.
All right. All votes are in. Anyone wish to change their vote anywhere? Mr. Chairman, you have all 24 voting yes, 0 no, 0 abstain, 0 absent when the roll was called. Motion carries. Hang on just a quick second. Okay. Chris, thank you so much.
Mr. Chairman, item D, the Fiscal Review Committee moved to bring that before the full committee with, our full commission with no recommendation. And that is the approve the purchase of land for the jail expansion.
Let me just say before we start, I expect a lively discussion, as it should be. So there are no motions on the floor. If there is a motion presented and there is a second, we'll allow discussion on that motion and take a vote. If that doesn't pass and someone has a different motion, then we'll do so. We really need a motion to allow discussion. Unfortunately, that's the way the rules work. So there is no motion at this point. Physical Review did not make one, so I'm going to open the floor, and I ask you to be respectful of each other. Give me the opportunity to recognize you before you speak so that we can all be heard that want to be heard, okay? Please do that. And I see Mr. Sandlin, Commissioner Sandlin is asked to speak.
I'd like to make a motion about approving the purchase of the property, but I would like to leave out, I assume that one of Mr. Ennis, that number 6 up there. I would like to make a motion that we approve the purchase of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 as option. Mayor Porter, discuss number 6 on its own.
He's asked to remove number 6 from the discussion at this point and include the other 5. So does everybody understand what his motion is? I need a second on that motion.
Second, Jim Martin.
I've got a Jim Martin second. Now we'll open discussion on that motion, okay? We're not even talking about 6. All we're talking about is his motion, which is to only discuss the 5 pieces that each of you have in their packet. So, if you will, I don't know which one of you raised your hand first, but I'll recognize Commissioner Bennett and then Commissioner Awazan, if that's okay.
Mr. Donadio also wants to speak. He's, if you put him in the queue too.
Commissioner Donadio, you'll be third, okay?
Thank you.
I would rather see all parcels voted on separately versus lumped together. So that's my comment on it.
Are you amending the motion? That's
If I can, I would like to amend the motion that we vote on each parcel individually.
I'll second that.
We've got a motion, an amendment. Now we open discussion on only the amendment. And I know this is tricky, guys, but we're only discussing dividing all of them and discussing each piece of property individually, because that's what the amendment is. So I'm going to open the floor to that discussion. Mr. Awazan.
It goes back to what I was going to address a moment ago, because I was interested in pulling a couple of those pieces off. So this amendment to the motion actually fits the discussion I was going to bring up very well. Thank you.
Any other discussion on the amendment?
Commissioner Williams.
Speak, please, sir.
Yes, I guess it's a question for Commissioner Bennett or anyone else who would like to answer that. Is there a reason for breaking them apart? Is there a particular parcel that you have an objection to?
Yes, there are some parcels I'm objecting to, but also, we need to know the particulars on all of them, including 6, before we vote on any of them. So again, I'd like to discuss each and every one of them separate.
Answer your question, Commissioner Williams.
It does. I would just like to remind everyone, I believe we have options on 1 through 5, and number 6, there may be additional time available to make a decision.
Absolutely. That is true. Any other discussion on the amendment? All right, I'm going to call for a vote. Those in favor of the amendment say aye.
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 Those opposed, no.
All right, for the sake of being accurate, let's, if we will, take a voice vote. Mr. Clark?
All right. We'll do a roll call.
Remember, we're voting on the amendment, so yes means you'll go along with dividing them all into separate pieces to discuss. A no means you do not want to do that. Everybody clear? Look at me. This is why I'm glad we're together. I can see confusion better. Everybody understand the motion?
Yeah.
Okay, Mr. Clark.
All right, take your handsets. Remember, if you favor the amendment, vote yes. If you do not favor, vote no. Everyone, please vote. All right, I'm going to call the file. It'll by Zoom. Mr. Holmes?
Yes.
Mr. Williams?
Yes.
Mr. Donadio?
Yes.
Mr. Christopher?
Yes.
Mr. Rogers?
Yes.
Anyone wish to change their vote anywhere? All right, Mr. Chairman, you have 20 voting yes, 4 voting no, 0 abstain. The motion on the amendment only does pass.
Thank you, Mr. Clerk. Now we'll vote on the motion as amended. I know that sounds crazy, but that's the way it works. The amendment is not yet part of the main motion, so that's what we do when you vote on the motion as amended. So everybody understand that when you're voting yes again, you're voting for the same thing you just voted yes for, to divide it. If you vote no, you're voting against that. So I'm going to open the floor for discussion on the amendment, on the motion as amended. Mr. Cassidy.
Just as a point of order,
Motion is amended.
I have, just a minute, Sam. Mr. Cassidy has the floor.
just as a point of order, we're going to take these in the order that they're numbered on the screen, just for simplicity's sake.
I'll be glad to do that, yes. I think that would be more simple. Mr. Stanley? That we divide them all and vote for them separately. The same thing, Mr. Bennett's amendment is really, we're voting on it again this time. It's just as a part of our motion. I know that's confusing, but that's the way it is. So, any other discussion on the motion as amended? Let me remind you, if you vote yes, you want to divide them all into separate pieces to discuss. If you vote no, you do not want to do that. So, everybody understand what we're voting on? A yes vote means dividing into 6 different parcels to be discussed independently. A no vote means you do not want to do that, that we want to divide it, just take number 6, which is what his original motion would be. Does everybody understand that? We're voting to divide all of them.
Was his original motion to delete number 6?
Well, it's not now. If this fails, then we'll have to have another motion, because right now the motion reads to divide them all. Is everybody clear? I know it's confusing, believe me, but that's it. Mr. Porter, did you want to speak at all? I see you standing.
I'm confused.
All right, so I'm opening the floor to discussion on the motion as amended. Does anybody want to address it? Mr. Clark.
I'm confused. I'm sorry.
All right, we're voting on the motion to separate all 6 properties individually and to discuss them individually. That's what we're voting on, which that's the amendment.
Okay. So you're amending Mr. Sandlin's original motion?
All that's secondary to the fact that when the amendment passed, it became the motion. But we made it a part of the motion with when we voted first. Now we're voting on the motion that exists that we put on. That's very confusing, I know, but it's basically you're voting on the same thing we just voted on. Am I being clear, Mr. Jones, or do you want to address what we're doing?
Are you confused as I am? Okay.
Well, when you amend a motion, you have to add it to the original motion and then vote on it.
As amended.
Exactly right, which is what we're doing.
Right.
So when we vote here, The amendment will become the motion and will pass, and we'll take every piece of property individually and discuss it one at a time. That's what this motion is. So a yes vote means you want to do that. No vote means you do not.
All right, so let me make for certain sure that in that amendment then, when it says vote on each piece individually, is that 1 through 6? Because his original motion was to delete 6.
That motion no longer exists. It was amended, and we're voting on the amended motion.
All right. So, ladies and gentlemen, when you vote, you're going to be voting to take each individual piece, 1 through 6, and vote on it. Is that correct? Here we go. If you favor that motion, vote yes. If you do not favor that motion, vote no. Everyone, please vote. Mr. Holmes?
Yes.
Mr. Williams?
Yes.
Mr. Donadio?
Yes.
Mr. Christopher?
Yes.
Mr. Rogers?
Yes.
All votes are in. Anyone wish to change their vote anywhere? Mr. Chairman, we have 19 voting yes. We have five voting no. 0 absent, 0 abstain. That motion to amend with the amendment passed.
Okay, Mr. Clerk, so
Hang
we
on.
have...
Wait. You got too much. Technical difficulties. Sorry, guys. Hang on for just a minute. From here. Huh? Wow. All right. Thank you, guys.
You ready, Mr. Clerk?
Okay. We're ready for the next.
Okay. So, we will begin discussing the properties individually, and I will start with one. Let me remind you of a couple of things. I can't have a discussion, or we don't need discussion until we have a motion on the floor. There are no motions on the floor. We're going to take each piece of property one at a time, and again, wherever the motion comes, amendments, whatever, it's going to be lively, I'm sure. There's a lot of passion that goes into making this decision, a lot of money to be spent. So let's again be respectful, and please let me recognize you before we move forward. Mayor Porter, do you want to say something first? Mayor Porter's recognized.
Mr. Chairman, I'll just say this maybe once and don't have to repeat it each time. The thought process is that we have options on all this property except for number 6. And I just got a price on that at the end of the week, and the asking price for number 6 is $3.8 million. I do not have an option on that yet. That's just his asking price. The thought process behind buying this land was for the jail expansion to start with, which will be the first phase that you're going to want to do, I think. We would borrow the money. If you buy these, we would borrow the money. The going interest rate right now with state loan pool is 1.65%. It could be a little lower than that, but it'd be somewhere in that neighborhood, which is a very cheap interest rate. We'd only borrow it for a short period, maybe a couple, 3 years, and then when you do the bond to build the addition to the jail, then you would roll the price of the land into the bond, and we probably get for our last bond we did, we got 1.35%. The price for all 5 parcels, not including number 6, is $2,188,500. Just remember on parcels 1 and 2, that was done as a package. If you don't buy 2 or you don't buy 1, the price goes up by $200,000 on each one of them. I would just ask you to think about what you're doing. Try to look out in the future. Every time the county that I've been involved in county government, every time the county has had the opportunity to buy more land than maybe it needed right at the time, it didn't, and you regretted it. A future commission regretted it down years to come. So I'd ask you to think about the future, not just today, but try to think 20 or 25 years out as to what might be needed then, because God's not making any more land, and you probably will never have another opportunity to buy most of this property again other than tonight. I'm just being blunt honest with you, so I want to tell you all that.
So I think the major point is that, ladies and gentlemen, we need to make a decision on 1 through 5 tonight, because the options will be eliminated if we do not. So inaction probably means we're going to let the option expire. So I encourage us to have whatever discussion we need as it relates to each piece, but let's try to get a consensus and have a vote up or down as we decide and discuss this particular issue. Okay? I'm going to open the floor for discussion, and I ask you to be recognized on item 1, which is 538 East Spring Street, and we'll consider only parcel 1. Any discussion? Any motion?
Do we need, can I have will you give me the price of each one as we go? Okay, so we can know what that particular one we're voting on, please. All right. Okay. 650,000 if both 1 and 2 are purchased. Okay.
Mr. Chairman, I got a question.
Okay.
You good, ready, Mr. Board Clerk? Are you going to leave it on that screen rather than the voting screen, or so I can? That's okay. If you'll raise your hand, I can recognize you, Commissioner. Yes, Darren.
Okay, real quick question. Is there anything in any of these parcels, should we make the decision to proceed to purchase, that if the county chose to sell off, we would have that right to do so?
At any time.
Okay, thank you.
Commissioner Real.
Yes. What is the appraisal on the parcel? The number 1.
The appraisals?
Uh-huh.
On some of them, we didn't get appraisals because we adjusted the prices down from where they were, so.
So we don't have appraisal, and I know we've been pushing this back and forth, and I guess we probably should have done it, but with no appraisal, we're just asking to pay an asking price on
What what I did is we started out with asking prices. We worked those down with Jeff Jones, and also got people that are in the real estate business to give me their opinion. And that's where we got to these, is where these prices are.
Still looking for a motion so that we can have lively discussion. So is anybody?
Commissioner Atwood, or Commissioner Williams.
Yes, Commissioner Williams.
I make a motion that we purchase number one. I don't know if it's in order, but if I can, I'd like to also include number two in that because it's the same owner and because there is a reduction in price with the purchase of both.
Is the motion we have in the agreement and what we passed was to take them individually, Commissioner Williams. So a motion on this particular property would need to include the price difference if we voted down number two, if you follow. There is an adjustment number. So by taking them separately and voting for number one, we need to recognize if we vote to purchase, we need to purchase it up to, what, $850,000, and then if two passes, we will have the freedom to reduce it to $200,000. But right now, we're only considering number one, and that's what we voted to do. That answer your question?
Fine. I'll just make the motion for number one then.
I need a second.
Second.
I've got a motion. All right, I have a motion and a second on item number one to purchase, understanding that it'll leave up to $850,000. Okay? And Commissioner Tays, did you want to speak to that? Please use your mic.
What they built on that?
I'm sorry?
The number one lot, can be built back. What can it be used
Parking lot.
only?
No, anything you want to put on it.
Okay, I know building on that property.
And it's already being demolished, and if we bought it, it'd be demolished. That's part of the deal with the owner, that they would demolish the building. That's the old Jim's Inn building, Mr. Taylor.
Any other discussion? All right, Commissioners, I'm going to go for the vote then, Mr. I'm sorry? Okay, I'm sorry. Commissioner Joe Awazin.
Yes. Mayor, we're looking at parking places, correct?
Yes, sir.
How many do we need for the jail project?
For just the jail project, is at least 300 to 400.
Okay. How many parking places are there at South Maple, the recent project you completed?
55.
So there's 55.
Just realize when you do the Justice Center expansion, then you gotta add more parking spaces for it, because that would take all that back parking lot up. That's the reason that I was recommending that you buy 1 through 5 to make sure that we had enough parking for the future.
Anything further, Commissioner Awazin?
No.
Any other discussion? Anybody else? All right, Mr. Clerk, let's take a vote. We're voting to purchase it as is the motion on the floor.
Parcel one, number one only. Here we go. Favor of the motion, vote yes. If you're not in favor of the motion, vote no. Everyone please vote. All right. Mr. Holmes?
No.
No?
No.
All right. Mr. Williams?
Yes.
Mr. Donadio?
Yes.
Mr. Christopher?
No.
Mr. Rogers?
Yes.
All right, all votes are in. Does anyone wish to change their vote anywhere? Mr. Chairman, you have 12 voting yes, 12 voting no. Does not retain the 13 needed. That motion fails.
So that we understand, we have not agreed to purchase, which means the inaction will allow that option to expire without us having inaction. Everybody understand that? So it's done. Let's move on to item number 2. The 613 East Broad Street.
613, is that right?
That is correct.
East Broad?
Yes, sir.
Is that, okay.
So I need a motion and a second in order to expedite discussion.
What number
Yes,
parcel is that? Is that
Two.
3?
Two.
All right.
Commissioner Oswald, Jordan.
I'll make a motion that we pass on this particular piece of property that we vote no on that, which I guess if the motion's made to pass it, I guess that would also deal with that as well.
Either way the motion's made, the same vote would be understood. So I've got a motion to defer. I need a second.
I'm going to second that motion.
Okay.
Donadio.
So we have a motion and a second, and the motion is not to purchase number 2. You do have the option when we vote to vote against that motion, and if that doesn't, then I will entertain another motion. Okay, are we clear? It will require another motion if we do purchase it. Right now, we're voting not to or to defer it. So, having said that, I'll open the floor to discussion on the motion to defer.
Commissioner Williams.
Speak, please, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm going to vote that we go ahead and take action on this tonight. So I guess that would be a no vote to the amendment. I know that the previous number 1 failed by 1 vote. I think some future commission is going to look back at that failure as a mistake. It's better to have it and not need it than need it and not have it. So I think we need to go ahead and vote on number 2. And if there's a possibility of somebody who voted no on 1 reconsider, that might be in order. Once again, it's better to have it and not need it than need it and not have it. We can always sell it later.
Thank you, Commissioner Williams. Any other discussion? Now, if I'm not mistaken, Mr. Mayor, this piece had no addition if we didn't buy 1. It was only property 1 that was going to be.
Either way.
Oh, so this one is $850,000 since we deferred the first one.
You
So
got to buy both of them to get them at the cheap price.
say that again?
You have to buy both of them to get them at the cheap price.
So the vote is not, or to defer the purchase of 2, which the price tag would be $850,000. Is that clear? Commissioner Bennett.
What is the purpose of defer? Why is it not just a yes or no vote?
Well, that's in essence what we'll be doing. The yes vote is that you do want to move it without, not accept the option, because the option is going to go, go away. So either way, you're going to settle the issue. Now, if this motion fails, we'll have to have another motion to approve it. Are you following me?
No.
Is everybody understanding? So we have to follow protocol, and protocol right now is the motion on the floor is not to purchase or to defer. Commissioner, did that answer your question, Commissioner Bennett?
I think so.
Well, I do not want anybody left confused. Please help me where I can be clearer.
Again, I don't understand what's defer. What are you deferring to, Mr. Alonzo, or when?
That's what I want to address too, because like you, Mr. Atwood, I want to try to make sure we have it clear. More or less, in essence, what I'm saying is let's vote no on this piece of property. So I guess that'd be a better way to explain it. It's a twofold reason. First off, it's further away from the Justice Center than the property that just failed. And secondly, we also don't get that $200,000 discount, I guess you could say, on that. So for those 2 reasons, that's why I'm saying let's vote no on this piece
So
of
I'm
property.
hearing a substitute motion, which is the motion now is to vote no on item number 2.
That was my original motion, more or less. I should have explained it better.
Who seconded, and would they agree to the second of that motion? All right, so we do have a motion and a second, and that motion is not to purchase item number 2. Again, we'll open the discussion to anyone who would like to address that.
Yes, Commissioner Christopher would like to speak.
Who seconded that motion?
Commissioner Tax. Who is that now, I'm sorry?
Kevin Christopher.
Okay, Commissioner Christopher, you're recognized.
Yeah, there's been confusion in various votes all night tonight, and in this case, the last vote, the question was phrased in the affirmative, whether to purchase or not to purchase, and this time it is in the negative, whether or not to purchase or whether to purchase. And I think it would be helpful for everybody if these questions, these votes were all consistent with how they were worded.
Well, I appreciate that, Commissioner. It's a great point. However, we have to accept the motions as they're made, and the motions were made as we voted on them. And that's controlled by the total commission. Commissioner Iwasan made a motion. It was seconded, so that's the motion we're considering. I hope I have been clear at explaining exactly what we're doing. Again, I'm glad we're together because this allows me to look at faces and see if I'm seeing confusion. I don't want anybody to be confused. We'll stay here all night if we have to. But I want you to know before we vote what you're voting on and be clear about that. So I encourage you, please, if you have a question, there are no dumb questions, only those that don't get asked.
So, Mr. Atwood, you're saying to tell everybody, if they vote yes, that's saying no to the property, right?
That is correct.
All right, so everybody make it clear.
A yes vote means you do not want to purchase this piece of property. A no vote means that you do, and yet we will still have to have another motion in order to get that passed. Am I clear?
Yes.
Yes. Please help me if you're not. If you're not, I won't.
Kevin Christopher.
Again, yes, sir.
One more thing.
Please.
Just one more point. It's a vote not to purchase at the particular price. In other words, it's a vote not to exercise the option. I just want to make that clear so that someone might not understand that this is a permanent vote. So can we rephrase that it's a vote not to exercise the option?
Well, the only problem is that the owners have told the mayor that they will not renew the option. So voting not to purchase it is pretty well going to eliminate the opportunity to purchase it.
Well, I respect that, but I've lived in the community for 4 years and that property's been vacant. So that's what they say, but I think that some of the concerns are over the price in particular instead of the property. So if there's a way just to technically rephrase it, that's what we are doing. We are not exercising the option if that's what the vote is.
Well, actually, in all due respect, the vote is that not to purchase it, and the motion or the item already dictates the option number, which is $850,000. So that's all. That's what's on the table. We have an option. So again, a yes vote means we're not going to take advantage of that option, and a no vote means again that you're not for not taking action on it. I know it's confusing, believe me, I do, I understand, and that's why I'm trying very clearly to look through the items and make sure that we have understanding, that we're not confused. If in the fact, Commissioner Christopher, that down the road they reapproach the mayor with these pieces of property at a different price, and certainly I believe he probably would bring it to us, but that's going to be a different item, totally at a different time. All we're considering right now is where we are, and where we are, we're at the end of the options, and we either need to decide whether we purchase at the option, at the contract understanding that we have with these owners, or not. Mr. Jones, am I being pretty clear?
I think so.
I'm looking for faces again. I hope that everybody is understanding.
What you've got before you are the options, and you can exercise them or not exercise them tonight. That's basically it, and that's what you're saying. That's what I'm hearing anyway.
Price doesn't matter because it's already been set through the option. That's my understanding. So that's what I'm trying to address for Commissioner Christopher. He was a little confused about that.
That is correct.
Mayor Porter wants to speak, please.
Those are negotiated prices at the bottom dollar. You either take them or don't. There's no negotiating them any lower according to the property owner.
And I believe the sheriff wants to speak, so I'll recognize the sheriff.
Thank you. I'm elected to run the sheriff's office, and that's exactly what I'm going to do. I'll manage whatever you vote to give me and whatever the citizens approve. But I would like to remind you, the architects tells us we need closer to 500 places to operate what we're building. Okay? If we don't vote for one and or two, that gives us about 150.
just say, I know that there's a lot of consideration for the Enoch property, but we're a long way from being able to vote on that particular, because we don't know everything. So, again, if your decision is based upon maybe buying that down the road, just be aware that property will be a while before we have all the facts. So we're considering item number 2. And again, is there any other discussion? Yes vote means you do not want to purchase. No vote means you basically do want to purchase. So if no other discussion, I'm going to call.
I've got one thing.
Yes.
Okay. After we go through this at the end, will it be permissible to entertain a motion to link the two of them in one vote?
Mr. Jones.
I'm not sure that there'd be anything that would preclude that.
Okay, thank you.
That would have prevented, is that what I'm hearing you, is that what I heard you say?
That is correct.
Okay. All right, so, folks, everybody clear? You know what you're voting on. Yes, you do not want to buy it. No, you do want to buy it. Everybody good?
Yes.
Mr. Clark?
Everybody ready?
Yes.
Everybody got it? Check your handsets. If you're voting yes, remember you're voting not to. If you vote no, you are voting to. Please vote. All right. Mr. Holmes?
No.
Mr. Williams?
No.
Mr. Donadio?
Yes.
Mr. Christopher?
Yes.
Mr. Rogers?
Yes.
All votes are in. Does anyone wish to change their vote anywhere? All right. We have 16 voting yes, 8 voting no, 0 abstain. Motion carries to take it off consideration.
So we've eliminated items 1 and 2. We've decided not to exercise the options. Everybody clear? All right, let's move on. Item number 3, 2 pieces, 113 and 119 Locus Avenue, and I'll entertain a motion.
Wait. Time out. Give me time. Sure. Give me those addresses again, please.
113 and 119 Locus Avenue.
All right.
Mr. Arwazin, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'll make this motion a little bit easier. Also, make a motion to purchase this land.
Second.
I've got a motion and a second, so we'll open the floor to discussion on those 2 parcels and on this motion. Any discussion? Ready to vote? Mr. Clark?
Wow. All right.
Yes means you want to purchase, no means you do not.
Take your handsets. If you favor the motion, vote yes. If you're not in favor of the motion, vote no. Everyone, please vote, please.
Item number 3 again is what we're talking about, 2 pieces.
Parcel 3. Mr. Holmes?
Yes.
Mr. Williams?
Yes.
Mr. Donadio?
Yes.
Mr. Christopher?
No.
Mr. Rogers?
Yes.
All votes are in. Does anyone wish to change their vote anywhere? All right, Mr. Chairman, you have 21 voting yes, 3 voting no. Motion carries on parcel number 3. Hang on just a second.
Tell me when you're ready.
Let's do a printout here, please. All right, thank you, sir.
All right. Excuse me. Mr. Clerk, the 4th item is 127 Locus Avenue. address 127 Locus Avenue. I invite you, if you have your sheet, it does identify how many parking spaces we believe each one of these properties will add. The one we just approved had 80 spaces. This one will give us 25 spaces. So I need a motion on item number 4, 127 Locus Avenue. Mr. Ford,
I make a motion that we go ahead and buy this piece of property off.
do I have a second?
Second, Donadio.
I've got a motion and a second, and now we'll open discussion. Did you want to speak to that, Mr. Martin? You were just going to, okay. All right, I'm opening the floor now to discussion on the motion, which is to purchase item number 4.
Commissioner Christopher, can you please identify the price point for these properties? I don't think you did for the last one, and I don't have that in front of me, so if you wouldn't mind.
Not at all. Item number 4 is $225,000. The item we approved, Mr. Christopher, were $262,500 each for a total of $525,000. So we've approved that. Now we're looking at $225,000 for parcel number 4.
Okay, and just a quick question. From a structural standpoint, is there any potential for a parking lot going on these properties if they're all purchased in combination?
I'm not sure your question, please.
I'm sorry, a multi-level parking structure, a parking deck, essentially.
Well, essentially, that's, I wouldn't say there isn't. Of course, there would have to be a lot of study done to do so once we own it. If we own it, then architects would have to go in there and check the ground and see exactly what was allowable. At this point, that's not, I guess, known. We're just determining whether we want to buy it, and then we'll determine what we do with it, I guess. You know, we have the freedom, not to, if we choose not to make parking lots out of them. We can do, you know, it'll just be our property, and we'll have future discussions on what to do with them. Am I making any sense? You understand?
I appreciate that, but we've identified parking space capabilities for these properties, and I'm just wondering if anybody had anticipated, if the architects had mentioned, you know, possibly having a parking structure there. I was just asking for that information.
Well, as a member of the committee that has met over the jail issue, that has been discussed on the property that's currently jail property or currently parking lot for the jail. So a multi-parking structure, yes, has been discussed, evaluated, and at this point, the decision of that committee, Commissioner Christopher, was the expense was too much to justify the addition of parking. But that's again been done in the jail committee. Mr. Porter, did you want to speak to that? Mayor, did you? I saw you stand. Do you want?
The only thing, you answered his question. I was going to tell you we'd already studied that committee. It's going to be very expensive to do a parking garage. They decided that's something they want.
Does that help, Commissioner Christopher?
The mayor broke up at the very end, but I understand you saying that it's going to be expensive. I was just wondering if there had been any potential evaluation for any sort of parking structure on the Locust and Hudgens areas. Thank you.
Okay. And the answer to that question, no, there has not been. Any other questions or discussion on parcel 4? Okay, Mr. Clark. All right. A vote yes means purchase. A vote no means not to purchase. Okay? Thank you.
All right, take your hand stats. If you favor the motion, vote yes. If you're not in favor of the motion, vote no. Everyone, please vote. Mr. Holmes.
Yes.
Mr. Williams.
Yes.
Mr. Donadio.
Yes.
Mr. Christopher.
No.
Mr. Rogers.
Yes.
All votes are in. Does anyone wish to change their vote anywhere? All right, Mr. Chairman, you have 21 voting yes, you have 3 voting no no abstain, and no absent. Purchase parcel 4, motion carries.
Okay, great.
Thank you so much.
We'll move on to item number 5. I'll add that at this point, it appears we've spent $750,000 for 3 parcels of land. Now considering 454 East Hudgens, which estimated to give us 40 additional parking spaces at a price of $138,500. I'll entertain a motion.
Motion to approve.
I've got a motion. Do I have a second?
I'll second that.
I have a motion and a second, and so we're going to open discussion on parcel number 5. Motion is to purchase. Any questions or discussion? Mr. Clerk?
Wow. In favor of the motion, take your handsets, vote yes. If you're not in favor of the motion, vote no. Everyone, please vote. Mr. Holmes?
Yes.
Mr. Williams?
Yes.
Mr. Donadio?
Yes.
Mr. Christopher?
Yes.
Mr. Rogers?
Yes. Yes.
All those are in. Anyone wish to change their vote anywhere? All right. Mr. Chairman, you have 22 voting yes, 2 voting no, 0 abstain. Motion to purchase parcel 5 passes. Hang on just a second.
You bet. Take your time. I don't have to be to work till 5.
Good, thank you.
Thank you.
so much. All right.
So this moves us to item number 6, and then again, I'll try to do the math in my head. I believe we spent $888,500 for 4 parcels that give 40, 65, 145 additional parking spaces, it appears, if my math in my head is correct. So that's where we are at this point. We're looking now at item number 6, and if I may, I remind you, we have no option on this piece of property. We know we have to continue negotiation or whatever you wish. We can allow or ask for an appraisal ourselves. There's just a lot of options. So we can give the mayor permission to negotiate and come back with an option or with some recommendation. We have a lot of options tonight as we consider this piece. So we're going to need a motion in some direction and a second and move forward. Does everybody understand what I'm saying? Commissioner Watson.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Mayor or Sheriff, you may have the answer to this question, but the current plot that's just north of parcel 3 at the corner of Spring and Locust, that's current parking, how many spaces are in there currently?
55.
No, I mean in the current parking lot that's about to be built upon.
Close to 160, I think.
That's why I was trying to size it up, because it looks like the properties 3 through 5 that we purchased is about the same size in acreage. I was just wondering why the architects are saying 145 when the current property is having more spaces in it, even though it looks like similar acreage, just by eye shot, it looks like.
Yeah, I'm not sure, but as you know, if you vote to build the addition, that lower parking lot will be taken between the building and then what parking the employees will have there. So that all that space.
Makes sense. I was just wondering if with architects, you guys have the plans more than I have. I just didn't know if they were having more green space and kind of more field
Yeah, and I was
space.
texting the architect while we were talking, and they said if we had all the functions going, including the addition to the circuit court clerk, if y'all had talked about the court and all that, it's close to 800 spaces in 500. So, I'm just passing the information.
Yeah, no worries. No, I was just kind of curious because it seems like even though it's similar acreage, I was just kind of curious why it seemed like there's less spaces over that same plot of ground.
Yeah, I don't know if it's because of the terrain, or I'm not sure.
Makes sense. Thank you so much.
Commissioner Donadio?
Just a second, Commissioner Dunn asked first. Yes, Commissioner Dunn? Yes.
There's no motion on the floor, right?
There is not.
I would like to make a motion that Mayor Porter negotiate with property owner 6 Isle Enix and bring that back to us.
Second.
I've got a motion and a second, and I'll open discussion on that motion. The motion is to give Mayor Porter the permission to negotiate for item number 6 and bring the information back to this commission. Everybody understand that? Commissioner Martin, did you want to? Okay.
In this motion, is reflective of an option, or is it, or in what form?
Well, we've given
Is it a
Commissioner,
written option for a year or a written option?
I think we've given Mayor Porter freedom to determine that. As far as this motion is concerned, there are no restrictions, only to allow him and give him the freedom to discuss with the property owner the possibility of selling that to the county, and whatever restrictions then we can discuss at a later date. This is only allowing him freedom to go and find out if it's justifiable or if it's worth us. Mr. Porter.
Yeah, one thing I'd like to say before you vote on this, and I'm okay with that, working with Mr. Enix and see what would work out. Just remember, even if you buy the Enix property, still don't have enough. So you didn't buy one or two. I just want to make sure everybody realizes that the Enix property is 150 spaces. If you tear those buildings down, it has the buildings already built on them. So if you don't tear those buildings down, you're probably looking at maybe 50 or 60 parking spaces at the most. And the engineers and architects have had a hard time figuring out how you make those buildings work with the Justice Center expansion. So I just want to make sure everybody's up front as to what we're doing here tonight, that if you get by 1 and 2, even if you buy 3, you still don't have enough to do what we need to do with the parking, to expand the jail and expand the Justice Center, both phases of it.
Mr. Porter, you said 3, you meant 6, correct?
Yeah, 6, number 6, I'm sorry.
Okay. Discussion on the motion to allow the mayor to yes, Commissioner Bennett.
I don't know if we can tie this into that motion, but during his discussion with the property owner, can he also talk with the architects and the clerks in the Justice Center to see what kind of use there would be for the existing buildings on the property? Because you have 3 buildings there, it could be slightly remodeled to where you can maybe put the clerk in there and turn her space into more courtroom. So that would have an impact on the value of that property.
Well, and I'll let Mayor Porter answer that.
We've already discussed that with the architect. The clerk needs to be inside the court because she's moving records and files and everything from the court. And I don't think there's I don't know how you would attach that building to the new building, that might could be done, but I think it's going to be difficult.
I think it'd be worth looking at, because you've got 3 buildings there, I understand, are about 5,000 square feet each, built, ready to occupy. And again, you could take their space, which is a secure building, and turn it into a courtroom. Just something I'd like to consider, because again, that would change the outlook on number 6.
And we can do that. Just remember, you're not going to have enough parking spaces if you do that. You're going to be in the need of length.
So I think Commissioner Bennett just asking that consider that, Mayor Porter, when you do your negotiation, take that into some consideration as you do so. And he will bring that back if this motion passes. So any other discussion on the motion to free Mayor Porter to discuss with the property owner of number 6 as far as purchase price? Commissioner Ford.
Mr. Chairman, thank you.
Speak into your mic, if you will, Jerry, please.
You said a while ago, how many parking places do we need total?
We're talking about everything. I think the architect said about 800.
Myself and Mayor Porter don't think we need 800, but that's what the architect says, that courtrooms are full, jail heavily occupied, we got all the activities going on. We think we can get by closer to 500, but
So basically, if we even go back and purchase 1 and 2, I think it's 1 up there, the 2 on the far side of Maple, or over by Maple, if we had them, we still didn't have enough parking space, right?
well, the mayor and I think so. But I think we have to have them, yes.
That's what I was, because I couldn't figure out where we was gonna park them at if we didn't buy those 2. We really need those 2.
Okay, if I may, we're on item 6. That's where our discussion needs to be. Is there any other discussion about property number 6? So the motion is to allow the mayor, turn him loose to negotiate. I believe we can voice vote this motion.
Yes.
Those that favor the motion say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, no. All right, the motion carries. I'm going to say one, Commissioner Cassidy.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we purchase lots 1 and 2 for a total of $1.3 million.
Second.
Okay, because this is a new motion and because our county attorney said it was acceptable to revote and upon a new motion, we do have a motion on the floor and we have a second. So I'm going to open discussion, and the motion is to purchase item 1 and 2 together. And is that the asking price? I haven't done.
That would be the correct asking
Okay.
price with the 2.
At the price that $650 each. So that is the motion, and I'm opening up for discussion. Please be recognized.
Donadio.
Commissioner Christopher, did you want to say something else? I mean, it's your motion.
Yes, I would like to say something else. And Randy, you can help me.
Cassidy, please forgive me.
You can help me if my math is wrong, but we voted to purchase 3, 4, and 5. And basically, that's 145, I'm rounding here a little, 145 parking spaces at over $6,000 a space.
Yes.
These 2 properties here would be about $3,200 a space.
Yes, sir, and then those properties, as far as developing them for parking, will be much cheaper than the 3 that you just bought because they've already been rocked and all the drainage put in, and all they need is a little leveling with a little bit of gravel, and they're ready to pave.
Thank you, and that's all my comments at this moment.
All right, any other questions, discussions?
Yes.
Commissioner Bennett.
Mr. Donadio.
All right, stand by, please. Commissioner Bennett.
My objection to 1 and 2 are the distance from the jail. And here's what I want to say. I'm in pretty good shape. I can walk a lot, but I'm just not gonna park down to number 1 or 2 and walk all the way up to the jail. I'd much rather there be something closer. Then when you talk about people that are elderly, handicapped, they're not gonna come from down there. So I think we need to do something else for parking closer to the jail versus down at number 1 and number 2.
Can I answer that?
Absolutely.
And that's the whole purpose of buying those parcels 3, 4, and 5, and having it closer. But just remember, try to look out past today. Look out 20, 25 years from now. Go to Nashville and see how far you have to park to walk to their Justice Center or places. That's a very small walk compared to where most places in the bigger cities as they grow that they have to walk to get to their stuff. I think, this is just my opinion, I think if you don't buy it today, you won't ever have the option to do it again, and I think you'll regret it in the future. I think that property at any given time, if you decide later on, we may need to build a larger juvenile detention center. To give you the option to do that on that property. You could always build something on it. It doesn't have to necessarily be parking. But I think since there's downtown, me checking all the property, I couldn't find any other property to buy. This is the best I could do. So if you don't get this, I don't know where the other property is going to come from closer. And I'm not saying you can't buy 6 too. But when you start looking at the price of 6 compared to the price of these others, it's considerably higher. I'm not sure if we can negotiate down or what, I'll try. But you won't get an auction for these properties again.
Have you considered talking to the city of Cookeville about partnering these 1 and 2 and joint venturing that? Because they will benefit from it as much as we would with their Fun Fest and the other activities downtown.
I talked to them about it, but I don't think they were interested in partnering. They felt like that this was going to be something the county would do. And I'm not saying they wouldn't in the future as things change. As it stands to start with, we wouldn't use number 2 probably in the first initial stage of the building of the jail. But as we do go to the Justice Center and you take that back parking out and you move the entrance to the Justice Center back around on Spring to that front door, now all of a sudden it's not that far of a walk for folks. And I think at some point, if you're going to stay at this location, that 20 years from now, or however long it is, when you're having to add another addition on to the jail, then you're going to have that, and I don't think it's going to be available coming up then. That's what I was saying every time I've seen the commission not buy property. I know it's difficult sometimes to pull the trigger and pay that kind of money for property, but I assure you, 20 years from now, it'll be a lot higher, and it probably won't be available. There'll be something already on it the way our downtown is built. That's just my personal opinion.
Did get you, Mr. Bennett?
Yes, thank you.
Mr. Donadio, you're recognized.
Yes, I'm looking at this, and again, the only reason I voted for the other motion was because these two need to be linked. Looking at this in future development, I know I'm echoing other people here, but I just want to be on the record, not buying these two pieces of property at this price, at this time, with the interest rate is insane. That's it.
Okay, thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Neal?
What I want to say is, Sheriff Ferris and I both, we were working at the old jail when this new jail was being built. And we remember the commission talking about the property around that jail. Now, that was 20-some odd years ago. They didn't take action like they should, and now you see the shape that we're in. All I'm saying is, when we look at that, it's really not that far. And I think if we pass this up, we're going to pass up a good opportunity that we might not get again. A lot of people have forgotten about Fall Fun Fest. They've forgotten about cooking on the square. Granted, yeah, this is what's parking for the sheriff's office, but it's also the citizens of Putnam County. And what we were thinking about being parking, it can be used in the meantime for different things. We've forgotten about all this. We've forgotten about all this traffic that we see around the courthouse square. That's not that far from the courthouse square. Go to any festival anywhere and you know what I'm talking about. I would like, if he wouldn't mind, I'd like the sheriff to elaborate on this a little bit and tell me his thoughts about what we did in the past and where we are now.
Yes, Sheriff Ferris.
Well, I concur, Commissioner Neal. I mean, I can't tell you the amount of hours that Mayor Porter, myself, and others, Commissioner Atwood, and along with others, Jeff Jones, has spent trying to find property and talking to some of these property owners and working on the price of it and so on and so forth. And I'm like Mayor, I don't know where we go if we don't buy this. I think it's been negotiated good. Yes, it's a lot of money, but in the big scheme of things, if we don't buy it, then I'm not sure what we're going to do when we do the expansion. So this is something, as you know, if we would have bought where First Realty is back when we actually built the Justice Center, maybe we wouldn't have this discussion right now. And I think it was $300,000 or $400,000 more, and the commission at that time didn't purchase it. So it sort of put us where we are now. But I think if we buy this, it certainly will be in our favor in the long run. I know it's difficult to do. Certainly would like to spend money other places besides parking, but if we're going to keep growing, expanding, and really doing the citizens a favor by having stuff downtown in the area that we have. We're gonna have to buy it. So I'll be glad to answer any questions. Once again, I appreciate you letting me be the sheriff, but I'm gonna operate and run and manage whatever you choose to vote for. But it's gonna make it very difficult if we don't have the parking. We're planning on building another 700 bed structure to hold inmates.
That answered Commissioner Neal.
Thank you, Sheriff.
Commissioner Martin.
Randy and Eddie, this directly to the two of you. To move forward with the project, we're going to have one roof up for our park. We can wait on 6, am I correct? But the need at this point, one roof up. If we can get that locked down, we can move forward. If we miss on 1 and 2, where do we go from there? Stop? Do we stop? Yes or no?
You have enough parking to meet the parking requirements, so we could build.
Okay, I just want to recap.
We've been talking about a parking garage early on with architect in buying smaller pieces and doing a parking garage. I think it was like $30,000 space.
That's almost out of the question. You can't, I don't think the county can afford the steel and concrete for that type of parking. But I just want to recap 1 through 5, move us forward. We can wait on 6, and that's what we're discussing. It's allow you to work on 6, whether it's an option or pricing and both.
Actually, that's not true, Commissioner Martin. We've already passed that. We have a motion to put 1 and 2 together and purchase. That's what Commissioner.
What I'm saying is what our needs are, right?
I understand, but I want to be sure we understand so the commissioners know what we're voting on. We're voting, they have put 1 and 2 together, which is acceptable.
Yeah,
Okay, very good.
What's real need, 1 through 5.
Okay.
6 is off.
6 is going to be more important when you do the Justice Center courtroom expansion. That's where it's going to be the most important. To do that. You won't have to have it, but I'll bring you back and show you the need.
1 through 5, that's all I'm saying.
That's what we're looking for the jail expansion.
Thank you, Commissioner Martin. Any other discussion?
Commissioner Williams. Commissioner Christopher.
And please, yes, sir, you're recognized.
Yeah, so a couple of comments. One is I looked privately at property 1 a few years ago, and it was about half the price that we're voting on. So I think it's priced at a premium. There was a comment earlier about did we get an appraisal? Randy, I know you used your best efforts to get the price down. I just think it's a high price point. But my other comment is that I keep hearing that we need 1 and 2 for parking to meet the parking demand that the expansion is going to create according to the architects. But then I also hear that, well, we could also purchase it for other things. And so I'm a little confused as to if we're being encouraged to purchase the property because we need it for parking, then that limits us from doing other things, really. So I think if we're going to purchase this property, I would hope that we have some commitment to a long-term plan, maybe a joint plan with the city of Cookeville, to what this area is going to look like long-term and how these properties are really going to be used. Thank you.
And I first speak to that, Mayor, and then I'll let you.
Okay.
We're talking about purchasing the property. If it's turned into a parking lot, then 10 years from now, it can be turned into something else. I mean, tech does it all the time. They currently have certain things designated, and most of it's parking, and they need an additional science building. They build a science building on what used to be. So it's hard to lock in, Commissioner Christopher, to say for 20 years this will all be parking lot. I think that will depend on the next commission, and the commission after that. All we're doing is purchasing it for the county. And then the decision about how to utilize it, I think, will be down the road a little. And that's just my thoughts. Commissioner Mayor Porter, did you want to speak to that?
That's almost identical to what I was going to say, Mr. Chairman. And just remember, if you buy it today and 5 years from now or 10 years from now, there's a company says we want to buy that, you won't have any problem getting your money back out of it. And with this low interest rate, who would have thought we'd have saw 1.35% interest? I think that's pretty low, so I don't think you would ever lose them.
Certainly, it's a later decision, but I think the idea is if whatever we purchase, that we exercise a short-term loan at a small interest rate, whatever it is, and then once the expansion is completed and we sell bonds, we'll add that to the bond issue. So again, that's, I think, if Mr. Porter, am I right? And that's what the plan and what we're proposing. Okay, that's just for information. Do with it as you wish. All right. Is there any other discussion on items 1 and 2 to be purchased together at the price 1.3?
Commissioner Williams.
Yes, sir. You're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'd like to just bring up 2 points that have not been brought up. Several years ago, I had occasion to do business at the Cumberland County Justice Center. No, I wasn't in trouble, but I had to go up there for something, and I noticed that they have parking spaces that are a reasonable walking distance from their new Justice Center, and they're not necessarily connected, and it seems to work just fine. My wife and I had no trouble at all walking that distance. But the other thing is, if you go anywhere near the Justice Center when it's a court day right now, with the size of the Justice Center and the parking as it is, all the surrounding parking that is supposed to be for those tax-paying businesses nearby are filled up with people going to the Justice Center. Now, when this thing expands, and if we make the mistake and not purchase 1 and 2, we don't have that parking, it's going to compound the problem, and I think you'll see some of the businesses that are on the square that are dependent on that parking, they may choose to go elsewhere. So I don't want to see us miss this opportunity. It's better to have it and not need it than need it and not have it.
Thank you, Commissioner Williams. Anyone else? Commissioner Tace.
Opinion on that piece of property, those 2 pieces of property, that is extremely.
Please speak in your mic, because I can't.
That is extremely high for that property.
Okay.
For the parking.
Okay. Anyone else? Okay. Are we clear on the vote and what the motion is?
So, more questions. So the total land there is what, about 4 acres on parcels 1 and 2? So it's right at 4 acres?
That's probably close. I don't have the exact acre.
So it'd be about 325 an acre.
When you start looking at, you paid $525,000 for 80 parking spaces, and this is $650 for 150 and $650 for 255. It's much less per parking space. I don't know about the acre.
Okay. Did that answer your question, Commissioner Dunn?
Oh, yeah.
Anyone else wished to address the issue? Commissioner Ford.
Randy, what'd you say? When we first started off, we took, voted down not to buy number 1 to start off with. And you said without that, it was going to cost us an extra $400,000 or $500,000.
No, if you don't buy 1 and 2 together, it costs you an extra $250,000 to buy either one of them.
Okay. But it costs us more if we just buy 1 of them.
Yeah.
Okay, that's what it's.
Okay. Anybody else wish to speak? Your vote. If you vote yes, you wish to combine the 2 pieces of property and purchase them. If you vote no, you do not wish to do so. Mr. Clerk, please.
Ladies and gentlemen, if you take your handsets, if you favor that motion, vote yes. If you do not favor the motion, vote no. Everyone, please vote. Mr. Holmes?
No.
Mr. Williams?
Yes.
Mr. Donadio?
Yes.
Mr. Christopher?
Yes.
Mr. Rogers?
Yes.
All votes are in. Does anyone wish to change their vote anywhere? All right, here we go. All right. Well, ladies and gentlemen, you have tied it up again. There's 12 voting yes, 12 voting no, and the no abstain. Did not garner the 13. Motion fails.
Okay. I assume that finishes fiscal
Chairman,
review,
that-
Mr. Chair.
That completes fiscal review.
Thank you very much. Nominating committee.
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman, nominating committee, 3A recommends approval of nominating appointments of 3 members to serve on the Finance Committee for 2-year terms to expire September 2022. Jordan Iwanison, Ben Rogers, and Mike Atwood, and I so move.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. Any discussion on that motion or additional nominations? Favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, no. That motion carries.
Item B, nominating committee recommends approval of the nominating appointments of 2 appointments to the Upper Cumberland Regional Airport Board of Adjustments, whatever that is, for 3-year terms to expire September 2023. Alan Ray and Gary Carwile, and I so move.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. Any discussion or additional nominees?
Who seconded that motion? I'm sorry. I had 3 or 4 run together. All right, got it. Thanks.
Favor of that motion, say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Motion carries.
Item C, Mr. Chairman, recommends approval of the nominating appointments of 2 appointments to serve on the Beer Board for 3-year terms to expire September 20 of 2023. Jimmy Neal and Danny Holmes, and I so move.
Second.
Got a motion and a second on the Beer Board. Any discussion or additional nominees? You favor that motion, say aye. Aye. And those opposed, no. Motion carries.
Item D, recommends approval of the nominating committee appointments of 2, it says 2 members, but we have an additional member, so there'll be 3 members to serve. We need 2, but we have 3 names to serve on the Delinquent Property Tax Committee for 2-year terms to expire September 20 of 22. Mr. Ford, Ms. Adams, and Ms. Tays, and I so move.
Second.
Okay, we're presenting 3 names, which means we're fixing to vote. If there's not 2 distinct 13 votes, then well, I guess that'll automatically put them on. I guess you could vote down the 3rd, but normally you would eliminate the least vote and then vote again. If one person gets the 13, then I guess, Mr. Jones, that takes care of itself pretty well. But we do have 3. You will vote for 2. And those 2, the 2 top vote getters, will be elected. So, having said that, we have Mr. Ford, Ms. Adams, and Ms. Tays, and you will vote for 2 of the 3, okay? Okay, Mr. Clark, you've had an active night.
Wow.
All right. You know, diabetic. All
Okay, as I call your name, will you give me your two selections, please? Either Ford, Adams, or Tays, two of the three, please. Are we ready? All right, let's call names. Mr. Williams.
Adams and Tays.
Mr. Christopher.
Adams, Tays.
Mr. Sandlin. Mr. Martin.
Ford and Adams.
Jordan Alwanison.
Mr. Ford and Ms. Tays.
Mr. Ford.
Ford.
Who's voting one? All right. Ms. Tays. Mr. Robertson.
Tays and Adams.
Ms. Adams.
Tays and Adams.
Mr. Randolph.
Adams, Tays.
Mr. Cassidy.
Adams, Tays.
Mr. Johnson.
Adams, Tays.
Mr. Donadio.
Tays, Adams.
Mr. Bennett.
Adam Tays.
Mr. Holmes.
Adams, Tays.
Mr. Rogers.
Adams and Tays.
Mr. Neal.
Adams and Tays.
Mr. Moss.
Ford, Tays.
Mr. Joe Iwanison.
Tays and Adams.
Ms. Bradford.
Adams and Tays.
Mr. Wilson.
Adams and Tays.
Ms. Dunn.
Adams and Tays.
Ms. Reel.
Adams, Tays.
Mr. Atwood.
Pass.
Anyone wish to change your vote? Anywhere? Mr. Chairman, we have Mr. Ford getting 5 votes, Ms. Adams getting 20 votes, Ms. Tays getting 20 votes, and 1 abstain. Ms. Adams, Ms. Tays, therefore are elected to the committee.
Let me just say, again, as chairman, I'm supposed to be neutral. I didn't want to vote on that particular thing, but I think in the circumstances, they were already elected. I kept count myself, and the best thing I could do as chair was to not vote. So that's why I abstained. So anyway, all right.
Item E, Mr. Chairman, recommends approval of the nominating appointments to serve on the Adult-Oriented and Entertainment Board for 4-year terms to expire September 20 of 24. Danny Holmes, Jimmy Neal, Jerry Ford, A.J. Donadio, and Jonathan Williams, and I so move.
Second.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. Any discussion or additional nominees? In favor of that motion, vote aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion carries.
Mr. Chairman, that concludes nominating.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Appreciate all of you in your role tonight. The new chairs, we appreciate so much what you did. Item B is to report of special committees. Any resolutions?
No resolution, Mr. Chairman.
Election of notaries.
Here we go. Morgan Bailey, Erica Carpenter, Jennifer Flatt, T. Scott Boyster, Whitney Holman, Kylie Hope, Phyllis Bagwell Howard, Tina Huddleston, Michael Huff, Felicia Lack, Sherry L. Maxwell, Miranda K. Mayfield, Serena Monroe, Sarah Morgan, Mackenzie Rabb, Lindsay Rector, Denise Rimkus, Sheila R. Scruggs, Rebecca Shaver, Julio Unzinte, Kevin Walker, Myra Walker, and Jennifer Willard.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. Mr. Clerk, any discussion on the notaries? All right, we have to take.
Who seconded that motion? All right. Take your handsets, please. If you favor the motion, vote yes. If you're not favor the motion, vote no. Everyone, please vote. This has to be roll call for notary. All right, Mr. Holmes.
Yes.
Mr. Williams.
Yes.
Mr. Donadio.
Yes.
Mr. Christopher.
Yes.
Mr. Rogers.
Yes.
Anyone wish to change their vote? All right, Mr. Chair, I have 24 all voting for, 0 against. Motion carries on notary. Thank you so
sir.
much.
Other new business. Item number 1, ratification of Randy Porter's appointments to serve on the Regional Planning Commission for 4-year terms to expire September 2024. They are Ron Williamson and Jerry Mason. They currently serve on that board, and both are willing to serve again. So,
Motion to approve by Wanderson.
got a motion and a second. So I'll ask for discussion or additional nominees. Favor the motion, say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Motion carries. Item number 2, ratification of the following to serve on the Ethics Committee for a 1-year term to expire September of 2021. You see the list. The parliamentarian will be Ben Rogers, Kevin Christopher, Kim Bradford, Harold Burgess as the elected official, and Jerry Mason is the representative from the 911 board. Yes, Mayor Porter.
Mr. Chairman, for some reason, and we don't know why, that committee was set up with 1-year terms, which is monotonous every year, just reappointed. If we could do that for 2 years, and we went back and checked, there's nothing in TCA or anything that prevents it from being 2 years, then it would fall on the September of the election of the commissioners next time, instead of having to do it every year. I just asked you to consider that.
The only problem I see with that is the parliamentarian is elected yearly. But that person would carry forward, recognizing that if it is a 2-year term and there is a new parliamentarian, they would take that spot. Would that work, Mr. Jones, or whoever may want to address that?
I don't think there's any state statute that speaks to the committee itself like that, so I don't think there's any problem.
Okay. I'll amend my motion to include what Mayor Porter said there to make it for a 2-year term.
And are you asking that these people that he's to be ratified?
Yes, yes.
Along with the motion. So I've got a motion that's really kind of a double motion. We're making the motion that this committee serve 2-year terms and that the people named will be the first ones we elect to serve that, with the understanding if the parliamentarian change next year, he will occupy that spot.
Second.
I've got a motion and a second, and is there any discussion or other nominees, although we don't get to nominate because we're ratifying? Yes, sir. This is only the mayor makes this appointment, and again, the rules, I think, require the parliamentarian perhaps to be, but the others are strictly from the mayor. So everybody understand the motion? Any discussion or on the motion? Favorite say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Motion carries. Thank you. Item 3, recognizing all we're doing is the cash flow for the school system. So it's in your packet. If you have any questions, you may want to address them. Elected chairman of the commission to appoint 5 members to serve on the rules committee. The parliamentarian is automatically a member of that committee. That'll be Ben Rogers. It has been my custom in the past to appoint, when I was chair, the chairman of the other committees as members. So that's Commissioner Cassidy, Commissioner Dunn, Commissioner Randolph, and I've asked Jimmy Neal if he would serve. So my 4 appointments would be Cassidy, Dunn, Randolph, Neal, and again, Commissioner Rogers will serve as parliamentarian. So that's your Rules Committee. I will say this, if you have things you want addressed about the rules of this commission, then I want this to be an active committee. I want things to be brought up that you have concerns about or that you'd like to see change. And I have some thoughts myself. So we are going to see that this committee is activated and try to if possible, make some suggestions as far as some new things. So please let us know. Not only that, I got several calls that if I was elected chair, they'd like to be considered maybe for a certain committee or something like that. Folks, I've made all the appointments I can make. But when certain committees come up for votes, and that happens monthly, there'll be certain things, and you should have a calendar as to when certain committees. If you feel a need or urge to want to serve on one of those, please let Terry Randolph or somebody in the nominating committee know about that, so that my idea is that if you have a passion for something, you're going to do a better job if you given the opportunity to serve there. We want to hear from every one of you. We want every one of you to be active where you want to be active. So I encourage you, as we go along, and if you see a committee you want to serve on, please let us know that.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
if I may, I
Yes.
believe in the packet that we got when we were first elected, there is a list of those committees, and as they rotate in and out in that binder that we got. So if you're interested, look in the binder, see what's available, and contact me or any person on the nominating committee.
Absolutely, and we encourage that. I hope you'll do that, because again, it's going to be a better commission if people are placed where they want to be placed. Any announcements and statements? Yes, Commissioner Watson.
A couple things. First off, I just want to quickly thank everyone for trusting me again for the Finance Committee. That's one committee that's kind of, I guess, not as visible as some of the others, but a critical one as we try to get as much revenue from the low interest rates as we can and some other issues as well. So I quickly want to thank everyone for your trust on that again. On a bigger note, though, I guess it's been about 7 months since we've last come together, and I can't believe it's been that long, but it's been, of course, we know a little more than 6 months since that terrible day. I think all of us have been affected by the tornado in the just west of town, and a lot of things have been said about that. A lot of consideration about that. But with this first time come back together since that time, I want to take an opportunity to thank Mayor Porter and his staff, and the sheriff and his staff, Sheriff Harris there, and also Chief Brown and his staff as well, and Chief Copeland and his staff. And I hate naming too many folks because you start risking leaving some people out, but I don't think they've had enough accolades on the work that's been done between the tornado and with COVID going on as well. So I just want to take this opportunity to thank each of them for that, and I think all of us should show thanks, maybe with a round of applause. But again, thank you to each of you for all your work you've been doing in this very tough year.
It has been a tough year. Thank you, Commissioner Wazen. No question. Yes, Commissioner Moss.
Mr. Chairman, I've sat here for 2 hours and a half or whatever, and the way I look at it, we have spent up toward $1 million or a little more money for land that we're going to be sitting on our hands and not doing a thing with until we can find some more land to get these guys the parking spots they needed. So tell me where we're headed. I think we spent this money, can't do anything with it, but just sit there and look at it, and we kind of handicapped the mayor unless they can find some more land. That's just my 2 cents worth on what went down in the last 2 hours or so.
I'm sorry, Commissioner Moss, are you asking for anything or just making a comment?
I just made a comment.
Okay, I want to understand, make sure we understand.
No motions or anything.
Okay. Well, guys, I appreciate your patience. It's been a long night. We made some crucial decisions, so we'll move forward where we've done. Again, I appreciate the opportunity to serve as chair. My phone is always open, and I entertain and appreciate telephone calls. So anything else that needs to be said tonight? Any other announcements?
Sure. Second.
You stand adjourned. Thanks, folks.